Work-life balance is one of those topics that sounds simple, but it isn't. Most English learners recognize the words. It's almost a cliche. Most people have an opinion. So the real question is, what is work-life balance? Why is it so hard to talk about naturally? Part of the problem is that the topic sits right on the edge between personal life and public judgment. When people talk about work, they worry about sounding lazy. When they talk about balance, they worry about sounding unrealistic. That tension makes people uneasy. Here's what I want to do in this video for you. Not to give you something to recite for the exam, but to give you some ideas, natural phrases you can use, then make it your own. If an examiner asks you about work-life balance, the first thing to remember is this: speak from your experience. You can say, I don't think work-life balance means the same thing for everyone. That sentence is very natural in English. And the phrase doesn't mean the same thing is extremely useful. Doesn't mean the same thing. It lets you avoid rigid definition and instead talk more flexibly. When you talk about work-life balance, keep it simple. Talk about how people divide their time and energy between work and everything else, like family, rest, health, interests, and simply having time to switch off. You can also make it personal. You can say how you divide your time and whether you feel you have a good balance. It's okay to admit if you don't. Just say, I don't think I have a good balance. I can do better in this aspect of life. Okay, switch off. Switch off is an important phrase here. Most other times it means physically turning something off. I switch off the light. But here it means to mentally stop thinking about work, to emotionally disengage, to switch off. It's very common in spoken English when talking about stress. From there, the conversation opens naturally. So here in Brisbane, for example, many people talk about being busy, not in a dramatic way, just in passing. Just in passing. Just in passing means casually, briefly, without making it formal, without making it a formal complaint. Here are two quick everyday examples. My friend mentioned, just in passing, that his father was sick. It wasn't the main topic of conversation. Or you can say, I'll just say this just in passing. You look smart in that shirt. It's like a side statement, side comment. Now look back to the topic. You hear things like, I've been flat out lately. Flat out lately. I haven't really had a break. So, flat out means extremely busy. It's informal, very natural, and very Australian as well. I've noticed that for many people, the problem isn't working long hours all the time. It's that work follows them home. Emails at night, messages on the weekends, that feeling that you're always half working, even when you're not at work. This is where work-life balance becomes hard to describe because it's not about hours anymore. It's about mental space. A personal example here helps. I've seen people who technically finish work at a reasonable time, but they're still checking messages late at night. They are physically at home, but mentally still at work. That's a very important distinction. And English has a good language for it. You can say they're not fully present. Present here doesn't mean a gift, it means mentally and emotionally there, present. They are not fully present, they are somewhere else. That one word adds depth to your answer. When people struggle with work life balance, the effects are often subtle, not dramatic, subtle. Dramatic problems are obvious and visible. Subtle problems build up quietly over time, and work life balance problems are usually subtle. People start skipping exercise, they cancel social plans, they tell themselves they'll rest later, 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 and later. And that later keeps moving, keeps changing. That's how it plays out in real life. Plays out. Plays out means something actually happens over time, not how it sounds in theory. This is how it played out. Now, if you compare places, you can also do it carefully. Compared to cities like Sydney, Brisbane is often seen as more relaxed. Compared to New York, San Francisco is often seen as more relaxed. Compared to Shanghai, a smaller city may seem more relaxed. But even here, the pressure is increasing. People commute longer, they take on more responsibility, they feel the need to prove themselves. So while lifestyle looks balanced from the outside, the internal pressure can still be there. This is where the phrase on paper is very useful. You might say, on paper, the hours look reasonable, but in reality, people feel stretched. On paper means in theory or according to appearances, but not how it actually feels. Another useful word here is blurred. Blurred. You can say the boundaries between work and personal life has blurred. So blurred means unclear, mixed up, not sharply separated. Work, personal life, it's blurred. If an examiner asks you about the impact, you can be personal, gently. You might say, I've noticed something. I've noticed that when people don't get enough downtime, it affects it affects the mood and energy. Downtime means time to rest and recover. It's a common natural term in both work and health conversations. I need some downtime, putting down your work or even your exercise, putting down your exercise. I need some downtime from heavy exercise. You know, ongoing imbalance doesn't just affect productivity, it affects relationship, health, and long term motivation. Some people cope by pushing through, others burn out quietly. Burnout doesn't mean collapse, it means slowly losing energy, enthusiasm, and emotional resilience. If your exam question turns out to what people can do, avoid sounding like a life coach. You're not there to give advice, you're there to show judgment, to share your experience and to be natural in that. You can say something like this: people like to set boundaries, even small ones. Set boundaries. Set boundaries means deciding what you will and won't accept. For example, not answering emails after a certain time. You can then balance it with a broader view. I set boundaries, but at the same time, workplace cultures play a big role. At the same time is very powerful in IELTS. It signals balance and maturity. I do this, but at the same time, I do that. And now I'll repeat the key point from the start because it matters. This video is about giving you ideas to talk about the topic, not giving you a script for you to memorize or recite. If you borrow my phrases, that's great, but you still want to answer to sound like you. So you are personally so if you are personally preparing for IELTS and worrying about this topic, remember this: you are being tested on how naturally you talk about everyday pressure. And I want this video to give you ideas and natural phrases you can use. Can you describe something objectively and at the same time add some personal touches? Can you use everyday phrases and common expressions instead of abstract ideas? Can you show awareness without sounding rehearsed? If you can do that, your English will sound confident, not because it's perfect, but because it sounds real. And that's what Band 8 and 9 speaking actually sounds like.